What are the easiest and hardest guitar techniques? Well, in this video, I'll be ranking 30 of the most common guitar techniques on a tier list from S for super hard to F for fucking easy, mate. And at the end, I'll promote one exercise to S plus for being the absolute hardest on the list, and I'll demote one exercise to F minus for being so stupid easy that even someone on cigarettes could get it within 2 minutes or so. Okay, let's start with some incredibly easy F tier techniques. First up is vibrato. It's worth noting that there are several types of vibrato, like slow vibrato, fast vibrato, and vertical vibrato, similar to what a string player would do. But for the sake of keeping things simple, I'm not gonna go super deep into the sub-techniques. Otherwise, we'd be covering like 100 different techniques in this video. So moving forward, vibrato is an incredibly easy technique. If you gave a non-guitar player your guitar and taught them to do it, they could probably figure it out pretty quickly. It also only uses the fretting hand. Your picking hand isn't needed here at all. So for that reason, it's going in F tier. I also wanna note that each individual tier will also be organized from easiest to hardest, with easiest being on this side, and hardest being on this side. Next, open chords. Every beginner learns G, C, and D in their very first guitar lesson, and they usually get it. Everything's cool until you have to take on the dreaded F or B bar chords. Bar chords are objectively harder than open chords, so we'll throw open chords in F tier ahead of vibrato, and we'll throw bar chords in D tier since technically they still are a beginner technique. If you can't play bar chords, that's okay. That just means you're a bitch! The next technique we'll analyze is palm muting. Ah yes, an essential technique for metal guitar. Palm muting requires you to place your hand on the bridge of the guitar and play while slightly touching the strings. It produces an interesting muted sound. If you've never played guitar before, it'll probably take you more than a day to get this, but it's still easy enough that we're gonna put it in F tier. Some noobs that are watching this may disagree. Sucks! But don't worry, noobs, because even you can do a pick scrape. This technique is achieved by taking your pick and literally scraping it against the strings. It's kind of cool, I guess. But it's going in the bottom of F tier because it's the easiest technique we've covered so far. And what better technique to kick off the picking section than alternate picking? This is one of the first techniques we learn on guitar because it's the most useful. There's not a single guitar technique that's as practical and used more than alternate picking. But despite learning it so early in our guitar playing journey, it takes some time to get good at. Fast and accurate alternate picking is actually very difficult, and it's something that every guitar player wants to be better at, myself included. Alternate picking is such a great technique that I'm officially making it our first S tier technique. Now some of you guys may be thinking, but Brandon, alternate picking isn't hard. You're right. Alternate picking eighth notes at 100 like what you do, not hard. But taking things to the extreme and alternate picking 16th notes at 180, very hard. Down picking is when we only pick downwards like this. Beginner guitar players will often only use this technique until they finally decide to stop being a bitch and try alternate picking. Metal guitarists take down picking to the extreme. The most famous example of fast down picking would probably be Metallica's Master of Puppets. The majority of that song is down picked and the tempo is 212. In terms of difficulty, down picking is going in the A tier. And just so you guys understand, I'm ranking these techniques based off of how hard they are when taken to the extreme. Obviously, a beginner down picking Smoke on the Water on the E string isn't fucking hard. Well, maybe it's hard for some of you guys watching because you're suffering from brain rot. Tremolo picking is really fast alternate picking, but it's all on one string. But the fact that it's only on one string makes it significantly easier than alternate picking. So hi-ho, into C tier you go. Everybody's been waiting for sweep picking. I'll save you some time. I'm putting it in A tier. The reason is that while yes, sweep picking is hard at first, once you get it, it's actually very easy. I actually considered putting it in B tier at first, but that would probably cause an uproar among the noob population. Uproars really piss me off, but I'm not even mad. I could probably create an entire video dedicated to sweep picking. The thing is, I'd want to put a shitload of effort into it so I could really explain the concept well enough for you to actually get it. Oh wait, I already did that. Economy picking is like a combination of sweep picking and alternate picking. It's fucked. It's a hard technique. S tier. Fuck economy picking. Economy picking is when the direction of your pick stroke is in the same direction as your next string. Here's what it looks like slow. I never use economy picking, and the reason I don't is because it's difficult. The most common economy picking mistakes are not keeping your notes even. Did you hear how those notes weren't all equal lengths? It's much easier to keep your notes even when alternate picking. Science! Hybrid picking is super cool, unlike yourself. Hybrid picking is when you use both your pick and fingers. I was not a fan of this technique for a long time, but surprise, surprise, once I actually learned it, I grew to love it. The most famous example of hybrid picking is probably in Eric Johnson's Cliffs of Dover. Hybrid picking is a solid B tier contender. Now let's talk about selective picking. This is a technique popularized by Tosin Abasi, and it's when you use both picking and hammer-ons. Let's listen. If you look at Tosin's right hand, it's not really that busy. His left hand is doing most of the work. And since hammer-ons aren't a super hard technique, we'll throw selective picking in B tier. Not necessarily a picking technique, but let's talk about string skipping. At fast speeds, this can be very hard. If you're only playing 2 notes per string, it's more efficient to start your lines with an upstroke. This is because for the second note you pick, your hands will be moving in the direction toward your next string. Whereas if you started with a downstroke, you'd be moving in the direction away from your next string. But that's only when you ascend. If you're descending, then it's the opposite. It's better to start with a downstroke here. String skipping is going in A tier. By the way, I'll quickly mention that 52 Week Guitar Player will be reopening for enrollment in mid-June. We'll only be accepting 100 new students when we reopen, but more on that later. To execute a natural harmonic, it's super difficult and you'll never be able to do it. You simply touch the string over a fret where natural harmonics can be found. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic as this technique is fucking easy, mate. If you can't do it, just do your best. And if your best isn't good enough, then just quit. A great tune for natural harmonics is the intro to Santa Monica by Theory of a Deadman. Natural harmonics are so easy, they're going in F tier. Pinch harmonics are definitely harder. A lot of intermediate level guitarists struggle with pinch harmonics. A pinch harmonic really consists of 2 separate parts. First, we have the picking motion, then we have the touching of the string to achieve the harmonic. This is what's really happening when you execute a pinch harmonic. I just took it and slowed it down for you. What makes it hard is the fact that you had to do both of these things pretty much instantly to get the effect. Pinch harmonics are definitely a cool technique, and based off of their difficulty, they're going in B tier. Next, we have tapped harmonics. The way I just explained pinch harmonics is also how tapped harmonics work, except when you play a note, you tap the string 12 frets above your fretted note. You have to be very accurate with your tapped note, otherwise you'll just mute everything. To do this really fast is way harder than pinch harmonics, so tapped harmonics are going in A tier. Out of all these bending techniques, which is the hardest? Traditional bending is a solid B tier in terms of difficulty. Even noobs know how to bend, but they often struggle to bend in tune. They're also guilty of the following bending mistakes: accidentally going underneath the strings, pulling other strings back with them as they release, and bending with the fingers instead of the wrist. A unison bend, also sometimes referred to as a double stop bend, is when you play 2 notes and bend the lower one up to the same pitch as the higher one. It might be slightly harder than a normal bend because if you bend out of tune, it's a lot more noticeable. I don't think it's hard enough to be A tier level difficulty, but I'll put it ahead of normal bending in the B tier. Pre-bends, on the other hand, may be worthy of A tier. This is when you bend up to the note before you pick. This means you can't rely on your ear to make sure you're playing the right note. You can only rely on feel. You have to be able to feel the correct amount of tension before you play. And I suppose one could argue that nailing the correct pitch isn't actually that important because you're just gonna release the bend anyway. And to that I say, how dare you present a logical argument to me like that? A tier for pre-bends. I wanted to group raking in with bending because a rake is usually immediately followed up with a bend. What makes a rake hard is you have to mute correctly, otherwise you'll get unwanted string noise and a bunch of sloppiness. Overall, it's still not that difficult, so I'm throwing it in C tier. Now let's rank the difficulty of some left-hand guitar techniques. Hammer-ons are not that hard. They're going in D tier. To get the full effect of a hammer-on, really slam your finger down fast. If your finger is too slow, you won't get the sound. Pull-offs are not that hard either. They're also going in D tier. Pro tip, a lot of intermediate guitarists treat pull-offs more like lift-offs. They simply remove their finger and expect that to work. To really get the effect, you have to dig in more and pull the string a little bit. They are called pull-offs after all. I find both of these techniques incredibly easy, so you tell me which is harder. Trills are a combination of hammer-ons and pull-offs played really fast. Trills are easy, but still harder than individual hammer-ons or pull-offs. I'm giving them a C rank. Legato consists of almost no picking. It's basically all left hand. It's a really great technique, one of my favorites. It's harder than the other left-hand techniques we've talked about, but it's still not crazy difficult. I think B tier is appropriate. B for Brandon. Next up is tapping. Tapping can range from impossible to piss easy. Most tapping lines aren't that hard. Some famous ones would include the Crazy Train solo, the One solo by Metallica, and the tapping part in Eruption. These are all pretty easy. Tapping is going in C tier. Electric Sunrise by Pliny is a bit harder because of the odd time signature. Sliding is also very easy. Going in D tier. Let's ditch the pick for a second. What are the hardest finger picking techniques ranked? First, we've got just regular finger picking. Obviously, it can range in difficulty. Some notable finger picking tunes are Nothing Else Matters, Dust in the Wind, The Entertainer, and Classical Gas. If I were to base my judgment off of tunes like Classical Gas, fingerpicking would be S tier for sure. However, most fingerpicking tunes are not that fucking impossible, so I'm gonna reduce its rank to B tier. Fingerstyle, on the other hand, is a little different. The main difference between fingerpicking and fingerstyle is the percussive element. Some people get really pissed off when people add this percussive element into their playing, but I don't know why. It adds a steady rhythm and sounds great when done correctly. It also makes things significantly more challenging, which is why fingerstyle is going in S tier. Slapping sounds really great on guitar. This technique is much easier on bass though because there is more space between the strings. With guitar, the strings are smaller and there's less room for your thumb. I personally have never even explored slapping on guitar. I think if I tried, I'd be able to get it relatively easily. I am a professional after all. But since my experience is minimal and I don't often see guitar players doing it, and the ones I do see are fucking crazy, I'm placing slapping in S tier. I placed sweep picking in A tier because it seems really hard on the outside, but once you get it, you realize it's not actually that hard. I feel similar about slapping. Personally, I just haven't gotten to it yet, damn it. A relatively new technique and similar to slapping is thumping. This is a technique also made famous by Mr. T. You're essentially just using your thumb as a pick. Perhaps that's where the name comes from? Thumb plus pick equals thump? I don't fucking know, man. Let's put it in B tier. Earlier in this video, I said I'd be promoting one technique to S+ for being the absolute hardest. And the winner is... Alternate picking! I had to think a lot about this one, and it came down to alternate picking or economy picking. Economy picking super well, and being able to improvise with that technique is very hard. But fast and accurate alternate picking is so much more useful and also extremely hard. That was the rationale behind my choice. Do you agree or disagree? As for the loser that's getting demoted to F-, of course I have to go with the pick scrape. This technique is not tough at all. Give your mom a guitar and teach her how to do this, and she'll be able to do it instantly. If you'd like to get personalized feedback on your individual technique, consider signing up to the 52-week guitar player waiting list. We'll be reopening for enrollment in mid-June. We'll open to waiting list members on June 11th and the rest of the public on June 15th. And you can get help directly from myself or another professional in this program. We'll only be accepting 100 new students when we reopen. Sign up to the waiting list now to be among the first in line. You have nothing to lose by signing up to the waiting list. And even if you don't end up enrolling, at least this way you'll have the option. Whereas if you didn't sign up to the waiting list, you may not even get the chance. I hope you found this video helpful, but if not, then go fuck yourself. Now just leave!